Good morning, everyone. It's Monday down at the tennis courts, and it's raining outside. Well, it was raining outside, so we're indoors today. But luckily, we have some good topics that we can talk about inside. So today, we are going to discuss items in your tennis bag. So the items that I have set out today are items that when I was playing in college and in tournaments, these are some of the essential items that I felt was necessary for me. So obviously this can be completely structured towards what works best for you. But I hope this gives you some general ideas as to what you should be carrying in your tennis bag when match day arrives, and also for practice. There's times where you need to make sure that you have certain items for practice. Now, when we talk about bags, a lot of people have just kind of like a shoulder bag. In college, I had a huge Wilson tennis bag. It could fit up to 9 rackets and all sorts of stuff. But I would say that's probably not necessary for a lot of you. But I would say having a bag that's going to be able to be big enough for you to fit all of your essentials. So whatever that is. So here we go. We're going to get started. First of all, I found some of the bags that I really like are some of the Lululemon bags. They tend to have a good size. I can fit I can fit my rackets in there. I can fit all of my essentials. So also Adidas and Nike also have some quality products that will fit all of those essentials. Okay, so first of all, we'll talk rackets. So I always have at least 2 rackets, 2 of the same racket specifically, in my bag when I'm playing. In college, we had 4, just because you never know what's going to happen. If a racket breaks, if strings break, if something doesn't feel right, you can always switch over to that other racket. Now, one thing that I think is very important to note, specifically before a big tournament, and a lot of times before matches, I will make sure that my strings are ready and prepped to go. Typically, I would restring my rackets before each tournament, and making sure that broken strings are not going to be an issue for me. Unless it's an anomaly, it's really going to ensure that I don't have to do that. And so, just as a side note, I think that's super important. Making sure that your strings are ready, and especially if you haven't strung your racket in a while, I would highly recommend getting your racket restrung. For sure. 2 to 3 times a year, if not once a year. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about rackets. I use the Wilson Clash 100. I really like the feel of it. I think it's a nice racket. It's weighted nicely. Has a nice sweet spot. I think it's all around from beginner level all the way up to the pro level. I think it's a strong racket for anybody that chooses to use the Clash line. A lot of women here at the club have switched over to the Clash. We have mostly the Clash Lite, which a lot of you have chosen to use, and then we also have the Wilson 108. So, anyways. Strong rackets, I really think they're a solid racket for a lot of people across the board. Okay, so anytime I have my rackets, They're always strung and they always have a fresh grip on them. I've talked to a few people about grips the past couple of days, especially with the weather warming up. One thing that a lot of people say, well, my grip is keeps slipping. My hands are sweaty, and I totally get it. I dealt with the same thing. And you're not wanting to do a re-grip every time. So you're not wanting to put on a brand new grip every time that you feel like your grip is slipping. So the one thing that I would recommend is these Wilson Pro Over Grips, and they come in a 50 pack, which I don't have right now, but they come in like a bundle that are all rolled up like this. Or they come, you can buy them individually, or you can buy them in a 50 pack, or this one is a 12 pack. But the great thing about this is that it's nice and tacky, and it keeps your hand from slipping. And the nice thing is, once you feel like it's done, you can toss it, and then you can replace it with another one. And so, if it gets kind of dirty, if it's not absorbing the sweat nearly as much, just chuck it and put on a new one. And so that being said, I'm going to show you a little bit how to do it. Now I am gripping for a person that's right-handed. It would be reverse for a person that's left. So you're going to unravel your grip here. And as you can see, I've replaced it. So you always want to start kind of at the butt of the racket, and then you're going to work your way to the top of the throat. Okay. And you can typically follow the ridges on the original grip. So it has a little piece of tape here. So you're just going to place it here. And the key here is just to keep it nice and taut. And you're going to follow, if you can see, you're going to follow the ridge of the butt of the racket. Make sure that it doesn't get too far over, because then it'll, get kind of floppy. And then you're going to make sure that this part gets tucked underneath. And then you're just going to follow it all the way, keeping it nice and tight. You don't have to, pull it till it breaks, but just keep it nice and tight, and just rotate the racket as you go. And following, and you just want to leave a little bit. You can probably see just a little bit of overlap here, if you can see that. Okay. Nice and smooth. Okay. And then all the way to the throat. Now, when you get to where it's just about, you'll see there's some tape here. I get it all the way to the tape, and then all you have to do is rip it, and it'll break off. Okay. And then now you have just a little piece. Now it comes with this tape that you just unravel it. Okay. And then what's going to happen is you're going to tape it. Oops. Make sure that it's nice and tight. Tape it, put your thumb there, and then you're going to wrap it all the way around. And then you are good to go. And the great thing is, like I said, and so it's nice and tacky. The great thing is you can replace these at any time, especially if you buy a big pack. They come in white and all sorts of different colors. But anyway, to me, that is one of the essentials to have in your bag. It comes in all sorts of different colors. Okay. And like I said, it also comes in just a white multi-pack, or a white pack of 12 or 50, whatever you choose. You can get those on Tennis Warehouse. I'm happy to order those for you. We can get those through Wilson. Okay, so that's one of my essentials in my bag. One of the others, okay. So, and I would also have just a regular grip just in case, but that's very, very rare for me to have to replace one of those. But over time, you will need to do that, especially if you haven't had any of the over grips in the past. Okay, so another essential, I don't use these, but a lot of people do. These are dampeners. So, you know, you always want to have extra. These are just kind of a little, just to demonstrate, you know, a little demo, but some people like the longer ones that kind of go across the bottom of the racket. Always having extras of those is very important because sometimes they fly off, they break, whatever, making sure you have backups. Okay, and then the next thing is I would always have extra string in my bag. You know, even though I restring my rackets at the beginning of the tournament, you know, if it gets later into the tournament or, you know, I always want to make sure that I have extra string. For those that, you know, you don't need extra string, we're happy to, you know, we have string on hand, so that's really not necessary. But for those that, you know, if you're traveling, if you go to districts, if you go to sectionals, you know, you always want to have that extra string. It just saves you a little bit of money in that way. So let's talk a little bit about string. There's a huge wide range of types of string, different feels, all of that. I'm going to just kind of cover some of the strings that I think are extremely quality and would be worth your time and money to use. So we'll start off with the most expensive, but by far the most quality string that's on the market today. That would be the gut. So it's natural gut. It's quite expensive to have in your racket, but the feel, you can't get it anywhere else. It's extremely quality, good feel, easy on your arm, just a solid string all around. So this is just an example of the brand that we have. We have Babolat Natural Gut, and it's the playability and the feel is just, it's top quality. So, you know, if you're wanting to spend the money, that's where it goes. I'd say if money's not an option, I'd say put some gut in your string or in your racket, and you'd be very happy. Okay, so the next step down, which I think across the board is the best string that we have here in the pro shop, is Wilson NXT. This stuff is great. I think it's an excellent playability. The feel is just almost to gut. Obviously, it's about half the price, and I think that anybody that has this in their racket would be very happy. I like the durability of it. It lasts a little bit longer than gut, and you know, it's a great quality string. Okay, now we'll go to the next step down, which is Sensation, Wilson Sensation. All right, and this one is just kind of the run-of-the-mill string. It's quality, but it's not going to last you as long, and it's supposed to be easier on your arm versus some of the other kind of run-of-the-mill strings. I would say it's a good beginner string for a lot of players, but it's definitely cheap and definitely economical. But I think for an extra few dollars to get the NXT would be best. But Sensation is just a good string to have in like your second racket. It'll last you a while. Okay. And then one other option that we have with string, and this is what I would use when I was in college and when I was playing in the juniors, is you want to have a little bit of durability. So this is called the Babolat Hurricane, and this is a this is going to be long lasting, but sometimes it loses its feel because it's a very tight string. It's very synthetic, and it loses its feel really quick. So what we would do is we would combine it. So we would do in the main strings. So the strings that go up and down are the mains. So what we would do is we would put the durability of the hurricane or another string like it, and then we would put in the crosses so that we have a little bit of feel. We would put like an NXT or a softer string, so we have that balance. Okay, and so those are the kinds of string that I would have in my bag. Or if you're looking to restring your racket, those are some good options. Okay, so next we're going to move on to we had some of the essential equipment. One of the other things would be I always have 1 to 2 cans of tennis balls in my brand new tennis balls in my bag, and then I would also have just some used balls just in case to hit. Make sure if you have 3. And you're trying to warm up, not necessarily the best to maximize your time. If you only have 20 minutes to warm up and you only have 3 balls, half the time you're chasing the balls, picking up, so it's always nice to have a few extra so that you're not wasting that time that you're maximizing your time for your warm up. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some of the other things. So I'd always have sunscreen, especially in the summer, right? Definitely not in the winter. But one thing we'd arrive for matches, we'd always arrive, an hour early. You have about 20-minute warm up. You can kind of hit around, get warm. But while we were waiting to go on the court, something that I would always do, I'd either have a jump rope, or I'd go on a little run, or you have like these exercise bands where you can warm up your shoulder. You can do some squat presses so that you're pushing, getting your body warmed up. I would always have some of these bands in my bag. Always a good option. I'd have kind of the thinner band and then a little bit thicker, just based on, if I even had a warm up, then I wouldn't kill myself. But anyway, so those would always be in my bag. Jump rope, super important, super essential. Okay. Next, especially in the summer, I'd always have a hat or a visor. Okay. And then I would always have an extra skirt or an extra shirt and extra pair of socks. Some days you're just feeling uncomfortable and you're not comfortable in the clothes, or it's hot and you need to change a shirt, you need to change your shorts or your skirt, your socks. Always smart to have an extra on hand, just in case, if you split sets, those kinds of things, super important to have. Okay, and then I'd always have an extra pair of shoes, and then I would always have my flip-flops or my sandals, Crocs, whatever you have. Always nice to give your feet a break, especially after your matches, and even before your matches. Slip your shoes on before you go on the court, before you go on for warm-up, whatever it is. It's always nice to have that. Just let your feet breathe. Okay, so I'd always have several different types of towels. A little bit bigger towel, just even if you're not a big sweater, it's always nice to have a bigger towel if you're going to take a shower, if you're playing multiple matches. So that's always nice to have on hand. And then I would always have a little hand towel, okay? And this was always nice because I could get it wet, or, just take it back to the fence and dry off your face, dry off your hands. But one thing that I really, really liked, and I don't have one here, but it's one of those chamois towels, and they're called frog togs, and they're absolutely amazing, especially in the summer. You dip them in cold water, or you keep them in like a little cooler, and they stay cold, and you wrap them around your neck, and it just drops your body temperature, and it makes you, it just totally renews how you feel on the changeovers. And, you put that around your neck and while you're drinking your water, and makes a huge difference in your recovery time on your changeovers. So those are those kinds of things. One thing, going to the changeovers, that's a good transition into what I have for our nutrition standpoint. Okay, so especially in the heat, we're looking at, you've got to make sure that you're sitting down on your changeovers. Make sure you sit. It's a huge, huge part about about that recovery. You have a minute and a half to 2 minutes on that changeover, and so you really have to make sure that you're taking advantage of that time, especially when it's hot. Because, your body, if you're standing constantly, you gotta take that rest. So some of the things that I would always have on hand, I would always have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I would take like a little Yeti cooler onto the court. That I would always have that. I would always have that stocked with watermelon, peanut butter and jelly, and then like a Gatorade or an electrolyte. But now you don't really, if Gatorade's not your jam, that's totally great. There's a lot of things like the Noon tablets. They have those in a lot of sports shops. Those are fantastic. I use those for I ride my bike long distance, like 100-mile rides. Definitely use the Noon tablets. They're fantastic. They have a lot of good flavors. There's also another brand called Scratch. Scratch is outstanding. They all have the electrolytes and the nutrients you need to reboot your system and keep your body from shutting down. Now, one of the other things that I really like that I would do, I would take shots of mustard because it has that vinegar and that salt that we're looking for. When your body's depleting with all of the sweat. People think that's disgusting, but it really does it for me. If that's not your thing, a lot of people drink pickle juice. I know that's not a lot of people's thing. That's definitely not mine. But there's also these other things called salt sticks. And those are just little salt tablets that you can just swallow and ingest that way. And then you don't have any of the mustard stuff. But this is super important to help your body recover. I would say this is super essential to have in your tennis bag. It prevents cramping. It prevents all of those kinds of things. So definitely something to have. I would always spike my water. So I would always have 2 bottles. I'd have one with just plain water, and then I would have another one that's spiked with something. So whether it's a Noon tablet or I really liked the emergency packs. I don't have any of those to show you, but they sell them at Costco. They're the vitamin C boosters. I really liked those. And then also another one is like a BCAA, the supplement that, you have the complex BCAAs that are super important for your body to be recovering and replenishing as you're exercising and exerting all of that energy. So those are some of the key things. Another thing, just a little bit of spike of sugar, chewy bars, nuts, trail mix kind of things, but those only last so long. So making sure that you're replenishing with like bananas, watermelon are high in potassium. Things like I said, peanut butter and jelly, have the carbohydrates, even a little bit of rice, something that's easy on your tummy that, you can just take a few bites, be done, and then get back out on the court. But I can't emphasize enough how important that, a lot of people just show up and they just play, but your body you exert so much and then your body cannot recover. And once you hit that point, then you're going to bonk and, you're in the third set tiebreaker and you run out of juice. And that would have been the difference. So I can't emphasize enough making sure that you're prepared that way. It takes a little bit of effort beforehand. And even if you don't have time to warm up your body, but you're prepared with your food, you've already, pre-planned everything that you need on the court. Even if you're planning eating afterwards, super important to make sure that you're fueling your body appropriately, because that's going to make all the difference in the world when it comes to your match play. Okay, so one final topic that I'm going to discuss. Okay, some of these personal items. I'd always have my headphones. That kind of gets me, kind of mentally ready. I'm kind of zoning out, doing my thing. Always have chapstick on hand. Hair ties, always a key. Bobby pins for those that need them. And then always a headband. I would always play with the headband. Keeps everything out of my face. And it also kind of blocks off some of the sweat too. I'd always have some gum for after. And then I'd always have like body wipes or flushable wipes just to kind of like wipe off the sweat afterwards. It's never fun to kind of have that stickiness on you. Anyway, just kind of a random thing. Athletic tape, always super important. Band-aids for blisters on your feet. And that's why it's important to have, an additional pair of socks and another pair of shoes. If one day your sock is rubbing on your heel and you have no way to change it if you don't have a backup pair. So, that's always important to plan ahead. And then I would always have several plastic Ziplocs, just for ice, just in case. I would always have that on hand. And then also some tissues, super important. If your nose is running, you don't want to always be using your tennis towel to, be wiping your nose. It's kind of gross, but anyway, so that is it. I think we covered everything. Like I said, this is not a one size fits all. It's definitely going to be something that's customizable to you. And I think the big thing out of this is making sure that you're prepared with the stuff that makes you comfortable, because if you're not comfortable on the court, then it's hard for you to focus and stay focused on the task at hand. And then it affects your mental capacity. It just is a snowball effect. So, and I think the other thing is making sure that your body is fueled correctly and making sure that you have the proper hydration, proper nutrition, that you're taking care of your body before and on the court. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. It's going to be a beautiful day and a beautiful week this week. Come out and play some tennis. I'm hoping that we'll see you all soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and Hillcrest strong. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.